Welcome to Below the Belt. Welcome, one and all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are below the belt. That's where we hitting all these shots these days, below the belt. We tell you all for we second year, we taking out the gloves. We ain't playing fair because y'all ain't playing fair. We below the belt. Guys, welcome. Wherever you fantastic folks are joining us from around the world. Good to see each and every one of you who are joining the live stream today. It's quite an important day internationally. We're going to be telling you guys a little bit more about that as the program progresses. Good to see each and everyone. And as you come into the live stream, folks, as you join the podcast Below the Belt with your host, yours truly, Sherry Duncan, I really encourage you guys to share the live stream. And you guys know, as an affiliate of the In the Ring program, you gotta share the live stream. And we want to see those emojis as well. Great to see so many of you. Jacqueline Springer, how you doing? How Christmas treating you? Christopher Leach, we got another Christopher joining us today. Carlotta Millington. Carlotta, how are you doing there? Deshaun Alexander, good to see you, Deshaun, and Paulette Graves and Carla Washington. Great to see all of you fantastic, lovely, beautiful folks. Sir Capin, good to see you. Sir Capin, George Annan, Debbie Apple, Vanessa Andrews. Good to see all of you beautiful, fantastic folks like Romy Leander. What are you guys having for lunch? Thank you for allowing us into your lunch break today. Where are you guys joining us from? And what are you guys having for lunch? We want to know that. Gershom W. Dowden, good to see you there. And Jamal Aziz, Sister Mercy, all of our favorite listeners. Marlon King, how are you doing, Marlon? Myrtle Hines, Agre Dillon Marsh is in Tobago. Agre, they would put a beating on the PNM. Hope they can clap some lashing Agre too. They put a beating of their lifetime on the PNM, the ruling party there in Trinidad in the recent Tobago Assembly elections there. Agree. Good to see you. Claire Alexis, Charmley Richmond. I see Yvonne McPherson has joined us as well. Claudeville McDonald, Esther Blue. I see Shane James is here as well. How are you guys doing out there and where are you guys joining us from? I see Daphne Aaron is joining us from Plainfield, New Jersey. How is the weather there, Daphne? We hope even if it's cold, and I know it's cold in New Jersey right now. We hope that you are pretty warm. I see Sandy Telford is here. Alia Waldron, your name calling. Sharbella Simeon Carter, good to see you. And Brooklyn Bob, all of you fantastic folks. Guys, wherever you're joining us from, why don't you take the opportunity and share the live stream. Rostrum Keno Waldron or Keno Waldron. Good to see you folks. Are you related to Alia? Them bad name cheering like Alia? I hope not. Hope you family got proper people. Alia, how you doing? Shots fired. Shots fired. Good to see you guys. Folks, y'all see here from dancing last night. If you want to call it dancing. Y'all see the man busting a shot? Y'all see the man busting a shot? Yeah? You see the man busting a shot there? Guys, look, every day in this country, you gotta thank God for the little side shows. For the little side shows, Margaret Nelson, we gotta thank the Almighty for the little side show. Paula Pollard, we gotta thank the man upstairs, the man with the angle. Ro Jackson, see here from out there dancing like I said, man, busting a shot with the lion on edge Waldron. What a team! What a team! Catfish and lion on edge. What a combo! What a combo deal! Good to see each and every one of you guys who are joining us. Guys, today we're going to be discussing, can the PPP say no to corruption? Today is International Anti-Corruption Day. It's International Anti-Corruption Day. And we're going to be talking about whether the PPP can say no to corruption. And we're going to have MPs, Director of Finance, join us. But I should start by seniority. The opposition chief whip, Christopher Jones, member of parliament, is going to be joining us. We're going to be joined by MP Director of Finance as well, and MP Dion Ryan Ramsurup. He's going to join us. We know him better as Ricky. Director, Christopher, and Ricky, they're going to be joining the discussion today on whether the PPP can say no to corruption. What y'all think? These folks can say no, these Jagabats, these Jebusites, Nakavakamites, Philistines, they can say no to corruption. I think we have the answer already. Thanks for joining the program, folks. That's all for today. We got the answer already. Folks, what are you guys having for lunch? What are you guys having for lunch? I'm having some mint tea. Because I'm watching my figure. Yeah, I don't think y'all getting me out of shape for Christmas, you know. No, no, no. Not a bit of it. I'm fighting y'all tooth and nail. Y'all don't taking me quietly. I'm having some delicious iced tea. Folks, but this might be all we can afford. Some it's not some iced tea. I'm having some mint tea rather. Some hot mint tea. I ain't gonna call it brand. Y'all want we advertise your products. Y'all come on board and tell me something. Make us an offer we can't refuse. We having some minty here, folks. And you know, we might not be able to afford a sandwich because bread price gone up. Ashley, your name calling. Papa Jagger, but your name calling, bread gone up. So I know it's beer per pot for Christmas. And people say the meat gone up and sugar gone up. So it's just hot water. It's just boiling hot water for Christmas. Meat gone up, sugar gone up, bread gone up. So it's just hot water. Right. So I manage a mint flavored tea bag here and enjoying some tea while we guys are chatting over lunch. Good to have all of 7%. Agri Marshalls, that's the 7% on bread now. $100 has been added to bread, folks. Can you imagine that? The people promised economic dynamism, right? It's really economic dizziness uh, and resilience, economic dynamism and resilience. Well, folks, if you're resilient in your own strength, folks, like the woman said, uh, when you was all you had, when being strong was your only choice. Here we are today, folks. So bread gone up. Bread gone up. I want to gauge our guests on these issues. And coming on, folks. In addition to that, coming on, we have learned that the PNCR, that much awaited, the 21st Annual Delegates Congress that was supposed to be on this weekend, we have learned that might have been postponed. And since Chris is joining us and Chris is a member of the PNCR, we're going to pick his brain on that, whether that is so. And we are going to find out from him. That being said, we're getting ready to welcome our guests, but let us know where you guys are joining us from. Beverly Williams, I see you there. Lauren Jones, I see you there as well. George Annan and Jackie Beard, Colin Alexander, Yonet Elias, we see you there as well. So good to have all you beautiful, fantastic people joining us today, guys. So good to have all of you joining us. It is our pleasure and our privilege joining. And why don't you guys take the opportunity to share the live stream? Why don't you guys take the opportunity to show us those emojis as well? And you maybe want to answer the question for yourself whether the PPP can say no to corruption. Folks, this is like asking cat to watch milk. Whether the PPP can say no to corruption, because that's what the folks asking us. That is what the UN asked us. And we'll give you a little background to the topic in just a second. But take the opportunity to share the live stream. And guys, as an affiliate in the ring program, as an in the ring affiliate program below the belt, we're asking you guys to come on board and partner with us. We got several platforms available. Guys, we cannot do these programs without you by any means. We cannot. I ain't gonna lie to you all. We can't do it without you all. And so we need you all to come on board and to partner with us. We have the Cash App feature available. It's our Cash App handle there. It is in the ring 592. That is our Cash App handle, in the ring 592. And in addition to that, we are available via PayPal. Or PayPal email address is in the ring 592 at gmail.com. We're available via MMG. It's 6276963. That's our MMG number, 6276963. And we're available via MoneyGram and via Western Union as well. We ain't got no problem with them, and they ain't got no problem with me. We are privileged to be an In the Ring affiliate program. Folks, welcome again to those of you who are now joining us to our podcast Below the Belt. I am pleased to have with us this afternoon the man himself, the voice himself, Christopher Jones, the opposition chief whip. I'm pleased to have Jurita Finance, member of parliament as well, and Jurita is the shadow minister of finance. And I should have asked our graphic artist. I should have asked our graphic artist to. Rather, we don't have a graphic artist. We have a digital media specialist. I'm sorry. We should have asked Dave to sandwich Jurita in between Chris and Ricky. But we also have Ricky joining us today. He is Member of Parliament, also known as Deonorian Ramsroop. Folks, welcome to Below the Belt. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sharon. Pleasure being here.
Good to have you. Good to have you, Chief Whip.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sharon.
Thank you, Sharad. Good day to all your viewers, your listening audience. Sharad, you have a very dedicated team of listeners out there. I'm telling you, they come on and wait on you. Some they give you 1 minute, they give you 2 minutes, they're waiting. Aldron and all of them,
And we
they
love them.
are
We love them. We
dedicated
love them.
people. And
Marcia,
that's
Lovell, and
perfectly fine.
all of them. We love. They're a little disgusting
It's
from
fine
time to
where the
time,
social is.
but we love them.
No sandwiches. That's good.
Good, good, good. Ricky, well, you can't afford sandwiches now. Ricky.
Like,
Thank you, Sharon, for having me. And it probably is my second one with you under the belt or below
Yes,
the belt,
we
we
are.
call
We're
it.
grateful. We are grateful. We are tremendously grateful.
And I'm very, very pleased to join with my two fellow member of parliament. And your listeners, of course, as Dorita said, they are very dedicated listeners. And we already thank them for the support and ensure that they share whatever we are saying here today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Folks, welcome to the discussion. Chris, them boys say you'll probably eat your last bread for the season this morning. Bread got up. What are your thoughts, Chief? When bread got
Oh,
up?
no, very, very unfortunate, Sharon. But this is essentially the new norm in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
new norm. And as opposition members of parliament, via the various social media platform and writings in the newspapers and articulating our arguments in the National Assembly, is that essentially it continues to fall on deaf ears when it comes to the People's Progressive Party sitting,
Mm-hmm.
because their focus is primarily on lining the pockets of their friends, families, and cronies
Mm-hmm.
when they
Sweethearts and
enjoy
lovers.
the big life. Exactly, when they enjoy the big life with the big vehicles and flashing lights and sirens and the full, as I quote them, as being a jackass parade that you would see them coming down the
The
eastern
one below
fence.
the belt,
So
Chris. The one below the belt.
you know, right? It's like literally for them, look, clear the way, the PPP coming through, the big,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the lords of lords and so forth. But the reality in this country is that life has become so hard for the average Guyanese household now. In
Mm-hmm.
every facet of society,
Mm-hmm.
Guyanese find it so difficult within the last year. And it's so surprising that a country could retrogress in a mere months to the point in which Guyanese can't afford to purchase basic food commodities to feed their family. Bread, it is bread, everything in the green section in the marketplace, shallot, celery, okra, pumpkin, potato, you name it, everything has gone up. And it's not now. We saw
Yep.
the
Yep.
prices started to climb months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was colleague, well, yourself and colleague Mike Paul in Parliament when he actually quoted and lists the items,
Yep.
item by item, that
Yep.
these prices have increased. And you would have expected that if a caring government as the PPP profess themselves to be, that after hearing and knowing the reality of the situation that the Guyanese people are faced, that we expected them, when you speak about increasing wages and salaries to the public servants, you expected them to take into account the reality of the
Yep.
situation.
And
But instead of
Christopher,
that,
and
you see,
we
keep on
expected them in the case of GPL to actually have money to raise the salary.
exactly,
GPL said they're broke.
exactly.
They can't afford 7%.
They can't afford everything. Everything is
Oh,
going down.
Father.
The country is essentially crashing under the PPP.
Guys, jump in.
It's crashing.
Drita, Ricky. Drita's the economist here. What happened in this economy, Drita? Bread gone up. We saw one
ever,
one one baker saying just last evening they have to increase the price. They can't continue to produce when the production price has gone up.
you know, when we go to Parliament, the last two. the last two, three budgets, because I believe we still have to count the supplementary as another one. So the last three budgets that we actually had there, the PPP stood up. You see the Ashley saying stand up and give these speeches, and they try to make it sound so good, like they actually know what they're doing, and it's going to be for the benefit of all Guyanese. And the opposition members of parliament, we went at length to explain what person should expect
Mm-hmm.
and what is coming to them. And today it has been full blown. Everything that we said in our budget presentations in February for the budget for 2021, it's all right there in front of our faces. We said the cost of living is going to be out of control. We said that. We said they're going to come with some basic nonsense, which they came with after all.
Mm-hmm.
7%, this thing came with a coverall. And he said, well, this is it. We got nothing else. This
Mm-hmm.
we can give you all.
Take the.
We knew that PPP was running the country to benefit the private sector, and we called it. We called it out from day one. Persons went out there. You know, you have a lot of the PPP supporters join your life every single time you're on, and they listen to respond. You know, oh, it's very something he talking. He how we talking, and yet when they themselves go to the shops, they have to cut down on their bread basket that they're carrying home for the month because they can't afford it. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that we're looking at right now. Everything is going up and things will continue to go up. And I think Kemraj Ramjatan is the one that spoke about the greens and why the greens prices are going up, because the government came to the National Assembly and they asked for the $10 billion they said to give relief to the farmers that suffered losses. But then they
Folks,
went out.
Richard, just hold a sec. Somebody's audio is filtering through, so you might want to watch that. At least we hear what we're not supposed to
I think
hear.
Chris probably needs to
Chris,
mute his mic.
mute Mike and
Yeah, it
Sharon.
was me. My
Just mute it.
apologies.
Good, thanks. Great to head. Great head, Tritos. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so Camraj was explaining it in detail. If you collect money for the person that actually had damages, and then you went out in the most corrupt manner and distribute money to persons that did not even have farms and persons that did not contribute to that sector, then the persons that actually lost from the farm, from cash crop and all of these things, they did not have money to reinvest into it. And so today we see all the prices of greens and everything going up, but the PPP don't care. That is the way they are. That is the way they operate, and that's the way they've been operating from day one. We said, Sheridan, I continue to say, when they went back into office last year, they picked up from where they left off in 2015. That is all they did. They did not change one single thing in their
Mm-hmm.
policy approach.
Mm-hmm.
And that simply means that the only thing they're interested in is giving money to the private sector. The PPP never once had an agenda or one single policy that they looked at empowering poor people in this
Mm-hmm.
country to actually have a better life for themselves. They always go out with policies and they always
Yep.
say that, oh,
Yep.
if we give the money to the persons in business, and so it's going to trickle down to the bottom. And we made a point 100,000 times that trickle down economics is it's false, it's a myth, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. You can't give money to people and expect them to get it to the poor people. The coalition government is the only administration that actually give direct transfer to the poor people in this country, and it was by direct transfer. We had a very, very good system in place, a tax system in which monies were collected and then it went back directly into the pockets of ordinary Guyanese like you and me and everyone else
Mm-hmm.
through increase in salaries. And we did it phenomenally. We did an excellent job at it. No matter what persons want to say, they cannot combat the fact that the coalition government increased persons' salary from 30 something thousand dollars to over $70,000. Every single time that came with an increase in the income tax threshold. The PPP doesn't know anything. They don't care. They know. Let me pull that back. They know. They do not care to do
Mm-hmm.
anything that benefits a small man in this
Yep.
country. That is not their interest because it doesn't suit their economic
Yep.
purpose. It
Yep.
doesn't suit their personal financial interest, and that is the fact.
I agree. We agree on all points. I just hear sipping my minty. Ricky,
Sharad, I
Ricky.
think
Sipping
yeah,
my tea, sipping my tea.
this is what you call borrow and spend economy.
Hmm.
This is what you call a borrow and spend economy. And it was frightening when you see they came to Parliament and asked to increase that threshold to $2 billion more. So from $4 billion to $6 billion borrowing.
Hmm.
Now, when you borrow, you have to pay interest. You understand? So when the other day when we spoke about the oil money, it make no sense. Apparently, certain ministers also didn't understand what we were saying.
Hmm.
You understand? Certain um, pundits within that oil and gas sector didn't understand what we were saying. But if you ask them boys like Christopher Ram, that boy's gonna explain to you exactly what's happening. You understand? So you find that whenever there's a high, huge borrowing, you have to cushion it somewhere. So where do you cushion it? You know where the PPP just cushion it?
In
To the poor,
corruption.
from the poor people. Yeah, from the poor people is one. You understand? They take from their pocket all the time. They have a tendency of suppressing poor people in this country. And Judith is quite right. Whatever what they left off in 2014, 2015 is what they picked up back exactly in 2020 here. And we won't get any better here, you know. We will not get any better here. I am predict, and let me tell you this here. Y'all might not know this here, but the American economy by next year, the latter half of next year, it will collapse.
Talk
If
to us.
we
Talk to
don't,
us.
you see, if you see we don't put, oh, you see this goal that we say they're boasting that we're exporting 500,000 ounce of gold and we're exporting it, they should have keep that. There are certain things that you can do. You got to get to the financial markets, Sharon. You have to understand the cryptocurrency. You have to understand the gold mining, the gold mint, the gold coin mint, a refinery thing to set up here. Those are things that you got to get into. And if you don't understand those things, we ain't gonna move anywhere, no matter how much oil. We got all these resources: gold, diamond, bauxite,
Hmm.
oil, timber, and we are in this position. 50
Everything going up.
something years of independence, man.
Everything going up. Everything going up. Yep. Yep.
So if you don't understand this, these kind of things I'm talking about in the financial markets, bro, you are gonna be in trouble.
Thanks for that.
You're gonna be in trouble.
Thanks for that intervention, Ricky. For those folks who are now joining us, like Carol Jacobson, well, not necessarily now joining us, but who are with us and now joining us. Thanks for joining the podcast Below the Belt. I'm your host, Sherrod Duncan, and today we're talking whether the PPP can say no to corruption. And we've just been touching on some preliminary issue, but I want to direct your attention, Siobhan McDonald and Bruce Monroe. Bruce, how are you doing, my brother? A very good afternoon to you and your darling wife, George Arnon, and all the other folks. Bruce, your wife and your mother-in-law as well. Good to have all you folks on the live stream. Guys, why don't you take the opportunity to share the live stream. We want more folks to be able to benefit from the discussion. It is International Anti-Corruption Day. Folks, you all notice how my accent deepening every day? International Anti-Corruption Day. And we're so grateful for a day like this when we can reflect on really and truly anti corruption activities. And the theme of this year's Anti Corruption Day is your right, your role, say no to corruption. Your right, your role, say no to corruption. It comes out of the United Nations. It's a day celebrated and that emanated from the United Nations. And just to give you guys a little background very, very quickly as we head into the discussion, the United Nations put out a statement just today which says that corruption is a complex social, political, and economical phenomenon that affects all countries. Corruption undermines democratic institutions, slows economic development, and contributes to governmental instability. This sounds very familiar. Corruption attacks the foundation of democratic institutions by distorting electoral processes. This sounds familiar. Perverting the rule of law and creating bureaucratic quagmires whose only reason for existing is the soliciting of bribes. Economic development is stunted because foreign direct investment is discouraged, and small businesses within the country often find it impossible to overcome the startup costs required because of corruption. On the 31st day of October 2003, the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Convention Against Corruption and requested that the Secretary General designate the UN Office on Drug and Crime, the UNODC, as secretariat to the convention conference of state parties. And that is how you have now this whole International Day of Anti-Corruption and International Anti-Corruption Day, which is December 19th on a yearly basis. And according to the UN, governments, the private sector, non-governmental organizations, the media, and citizens around the world are joining forces to fight crime. And that is why we saw a statement coming out of the United States Embassy in which Biden and Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, the president and the vice president, asking the PPP for initiatives, for commitments to fight corruption. Well, we hear about none as yet. Jurita, Chris, and Ricky, welcome again to the
Yeah,
discussion. Jump in at any point.
Quick,
sure.
let me jump in before Jarita.
Okay, okay. Chief Whip.
Sherrod, we need to do an in-depth investigation to ascertain the person who wrote who wrote that statement. Because I think very likely you may find that that person has Guyanese heritage, or the person is a Guyanese by
talk,
birth.
talk to us,
Because
Chris.
literally, when you reading that out, it's like you seeing the newspaper headlines, or you hearing the newscasts speaking about issues in Guyana. It
Mm-hmm.
sounded like that statement was tailored after viewing the situation in Guyana. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that is telling Guyana's story, and that is what is happening here. When you speak about corruption, when you speak about small businesses not getting the opportunity to access resources to launch off their business, when you talk about bribe, when you talk about accessing government services
Yep.
via the public service sector, and the only manner in which you can get through with these things, you have to pass a bribe. Even the U.S. ambassador speaking on behalf of the chamber that was recently established in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
the
Amcham.
AmCham,
Mm-hmm.
AmCham. She she echoed those same sentiments that persons find it most difficult to establish a business
Yep.
here in Guyana and
Yep.
so forth because of
Bureaucracy.
corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing, having the historical facts and history about the People's Progressive Party, civic, when you speak about corruption, I'm sure if you check the Oxford Dictionary next to corruption, you may see PPPC in a small bracket because that is what they're
The
referring to. This is the more, I
one
mean,
below the belt.
some years ago, when the PPP was in office, Guyana, by Transparency International, was dubbed one of the most corrupt countries in the hemisphere. It is no secret. And now that the PPP has returned, corruption has returned.
Mm-hmm.
It is the name and the nature of the beast. It is what we have to deal with.
Yep. 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 Thank you, Chief Whip. Druti, you wanted to jump in.
Yes, Sharon. Chris is absolutely correct. And what you were quoting just now, so I was referring to the Starbuck News article that reported on the U.S. ambassador's statement, and I found it interesting.
Talk
Is
to
that
us. Talk to us.
what she's calling for is not it's not something she could get from the PPP, and she knows this. What she's calling for is what she got from the coalition government when we were in office. You never miss the water till the well runs dry. That's a Guyanese saying, and that's what's going on right about now. I want to quote a part of what she said in her statement. She said, "For the private sector, actors must also answer for any role that they play in corrupt practices. And when choosing private sector partners, it is advisable to choose the reputable over the most convenient." She's talking of the
A lot of
PPP
names
nation.
calling there.
We choose the most convenient, right? But again, she's going to refer to the fact that there are persons in the U.S. and so that wants to invest, but when there's not a level playing field, when they're the more reputable and they're not the most convenient,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to get it because the people look at the most convenient.
Mm-hmm.
She went on to say that most importantly, a robust civil society and free press are critical to holding leaders responsible for their actions. Cheryl, let me tell you, they
Sarah, that
cannot
statement below the
stand.
belt. Sarah, the statement below the
I
belt.
think, you know, But what she's saying, and probably Sarah's locked into your program every day. Probably she watches it every night because
I won't
she's
doubt
going
you.
to realize the importance of having programs like this, because you have to hold leaders accountable. You have to keep calling them out. Once you are the holder of a public office, you expose yourself to that level of public scrutiny. And that is what you do. And dare I say, you do a fantastic job. I think you do the best job ever. Now, I want to give
What you
some
want, Rita?
facts.
Why you butter him up, so? What you want?
It's Christmas, I come in and I send in the reports.
Talk to us.
But I want to give some of the statistics, because a lot of times when we talk, persons, you remember the opposition is also persons expect that you just go out and you condemn the government. It's not like that. The government have a statistical record of failure. And this is the fact. When we talk about corruption, when we talk about the corruption perception index, the score that we had in Guyana, the lowest ever, when we were just going down and down and down. I think it's 2011. We had it at 24. 2011, out of 83 countries, we were ranked at number 24. Mind you, being the most corrupt, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we were
Mm-hmm.
nicely on our way going there. When we look at, like, if we go back, you will see like 2010, it was 27. I want to just let persons know right now, these data, they're very important. In 2015, when the coalition took office, the index was at 29. 29.
Wow.
Now, when we left office, Sherrod, when we left office, we left it at 40. We left it as 40. Mind you, the closer you are to one, the more corrupt the country is.
Mm-hmm.
When we went into office in 2015, it was at 29. When we left office, it was at 40. That is a vast improvement that was done when it comes to corruption in this country. That we're not just saying that the PPP is corrupt, the statistic is there to verify what we are saying. The international bodies come in and they study us and they say, this is a corrupt country, you know? And these are the facts that we need to refer to. I'm scrolling the
We
statement that
also came
came out.
off of the EU
Hmm.
blacklisted countries as well under the coalition administration. Let me just throw that in there.
Well, that is another thing. Oh, and you can use the example when that Bar Jagyo was saying that, oh, persons have this perception that when the PP is in office that drugs is fast. And then the data says that the highest ever drug bust for the country came
Yep.
under the PPP,
11 tons of coke, and all of that is just in 2021, over 10-year period. The highest is 2021. We finished the year, and since that data came out, Jurita, 11
Hmm.
11 pounds of coke was discovered just the other
Yeah.
day.
But one of the most interesting parts that the statement from the U.S. ambassador actually referred to is when she was explaining that the enhancements of criminal justice institution with the power to investigate and successfully prosecute corruption is another crucial step to deter the practice. And I'm thinking, is this woman actually speaking that she want back the coalition? Because you can't be asking the PPP for these things. This is never going to happen. The PPP
Is cat watching
utilize
milk?
our justice system, the institution. They weaponize it, and we've been speaking about that all the time. So all of what is being said, and Christopher Jones was absolutely right when he said, when you read what these people are saying about corruption, like if you just came to Guyana, you did a study, and these were your findings, and they should not be done. Basically, the corruption, for anti-corruption there, the statement should be, do not do anything that is being done in Guyana. That's a coverall.
I love
And
that.
that explains the state that we're in as a country right now. And I dare say, Sharon, sometimes we as a people, we need to go out there and do a little more reading and research for ourselves. Just don't take it at face value what you hear
True,
in the
true.
media and so forth. If you are to go and actually do research when it comes to a dictatorship and how a dictatorial leader and a dictatorial ruler, how they operate, then you would want to know if the PPP is like taking notes from this to the book. line for line. If you read what a dictatorship government entails, it is the PPP.
Word for word.
And these are the facts: corrupt, dictatorial. These are the people that we are dealing with every single day. Them going down the road with the sirens, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry got a siren on the vehicle. I saw actually, I think was Yog Mahadio had put up on his Facebook today, if I'm not mistaken, asking what is a number plate GUI, what number plate is that? What does that mean? And why are they coming through traffic just boring through with the sirens? Well, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna do some research on that myself. But it just goes to show it is elevating some members of society while suppressing the rest in every single level. They can't even allow you to even travel on the road without saying, well, you are a lesser class traveler on this
Mm-hmm.
road
Mm-hmm.
that we are.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that we're dealing with, and it's a very, very serious thing.
Yep. Can the PPP say
Exactly.
no to corruption? Ricky,
Of course
I want.
not.
Yeah. So during I the other night I didn't get to we didn't get to flash that car with a GUI the night, but I wanted to bump it. But because the kids was in the car, so if I bump it, I would probably get some more details for you to know what is it. Because I recall I think was in the World Cup, those vehicles that was brought in here brand new. They had a GUI in it. I think I can't recall it clearly, but I saw with that car, one of the car that marks GUI in it. But sure, let's get to this corruption index story and Guyana.
Talk to us.
Uh, Procurement Commission, bro, bro, it's got to start from there. With the
Mm-hmm.
absence of procurement commission,
Mm-hmm. Public
you
Procurement
are
Commission. Yep.
asking or begging for corruption.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? We see recently Ministry of Housing budgeted for $6 billion. They spent $14 billion
Yep.
to date. $8 billion over
Them buys printing money there.
spent.
They got the press, the printing money.
Where are we going, man? Where are we going with this thing? You understand? And then you speak about the ambassador. I don't even want to talk about it. I see iNews put a picture with she and the president cheers and cheering. Oh, what? You are one of the cause that brought this here. You didn't know this here?
Mm-hmm.
You're pretending to be now. You are pretending to be that. Oh, you're so care and you're telling you want to teach the government to be transparent and to be corruption free.
Oh, hope she got a lot of time on Shahan.
Exactly. We were the one who brought you here, the DEA here in Guyana for this drug
Oh
situation that
yes.
we got
She
here.
threw them
We are the one who
on she
brought it
back.
here.
Palavering herself in and out of Hatfield Street. She come with them. No,
We
no,
lost and she's
look.
building some fancy house somewhere. We can find it. We can
Oh,
get some more
oh,
details on
oh,
that.
oh. Now look at Sarah. Folks who are now joining us, you're tuned into the Below the Belt podcast. We're an affiliate of the In the Ring program, and today we're discussing can the PUP say no to corruption? And I want to throw this one in Chris' chest. Folks, listen to me. A couple weeks back, you had a permanent
Yep.
secretary, Sharon Hicks. Sharon Hicks, the police force, the Guyana police force, not the community police, the Guyana police force, the police force of the cooperative oil producing republic. They set up a sting operation that caught the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Marine Affairs demanding bribe from a contractor. Every month, the man had to pay 200,000 to Sharon Hicks. The police force caught her red-handed with the money. They marked the money, set up this thing operation. To this day, it's about 3 months now. That file is still before the DPP, awaiting a legal opinion. Can the PPP say no to corruption? Chris, take it away.
Mm. You know, Sharon. Well, three things.
Oh,
I'm happy you made that point and you spoke about that particular permanent secretary. And just recently on your program in the ring, you spoke about another
well, at the
permanent
coming
secretary.
down. At the coming down.
They're coming down. And you
Go
know
right
what
ahead,
is
Chris.
important that we have to remember? It is not only corruption, but as well perceived corruption.
Correct.
Because if
Correct.
somebody, if in a country you perceive that everything is a running and so forth, there's perceived corruption. Now, you spoke about her close association with persons, and then those same persons happen to get massive hundreds of millions of dollar contract with the said ministry that the said permanent secretary is seen in photograph frolicking almost every weekend out and about. That is what we're talking about in terms of corruption in this country. Similarly, you could speak about so many entities, whether it's a radio station and so forth, their close association with the People's Progressive Party Civic and awarding themselves contracts of huge amount. And you have small, legitimate contractors, noting some who worked during the coalition period,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they worked under the coalition period. Many of those contractors to this day have not been issued a contract since the PPP has taken in office. Some of them, for example, they set up what they call their own sting operation. The
Mm-hmm.
bid is out there. It starts at 700 million. Just to test the waters, these contractors bid $600 million, way under, just to see whether or not they will get the contract. And amazingly enough, even on that, they are denied those contracts because of who they are and because they would have gotten contracts under the coalition government. And that is what we talk about in terms of corruption in this country. Now, the PPP doesn't is least bothered and concerned that these contractors have employers or employees under their wing, hundreds of them, and those employees have families. So it is a ripple effect that you go off spitefully at one contractor, getting that that contractor has hundreds of employees and those employees have their families. So it's 100 times 5 at minimum. And that is the amount of Guyanese that are affected because of your corrupt behavior, because this person is perceived to be a coalition supporter or something like that. So perceived corruption as well is rampant in this country.
Yep.
Take for
Yep.
example, and even, I mean, this may be deviating a bit, but the reality is when you speak about corruption in Guyana, when certain key persons join the conversation and speak about corruption or perceived corruption in the country, then you see the same government going after those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, recently, Mr. Jordan, Winston Jordan, the former Minister of Finance, he spoke at length in terms of the percentage that they were given to public servants. He outlined, he showed the figures, he showed the facts. The
Yep.
next week he's hauled before Suku. Case in point there,
Chris, but
you know.
I don't even want to
Um,
go so far as Rita and Ricky comes in because you approach the government of the day, got a legitimate offer from the government, and when these jacobats came in, about 50 policemen swooped down on your house. Till this day,
that's right.
they haven't produced a shred of evidence that you have done anything wrong. Here is a Guyana police force that they themselves set up a sting operation, caught
Mm-hmm.
Sharon Hicks in the act, and that matter is still waiting for a legal opinion. It is still waiting. And as you say,
And
as Rita and Ricky join us, you know, the case, the seminal case is the Pinochet case, which says that in the case of, I was trying to point out with the permanent secretary, is the conflict of interest. They say it is not an actual conflict of interest, does not have to exist. It's a mere perception. If you hanging out with some people
that's right.
every day in the private sector, you're drinking together, bathing together, you know, you're in
Mm-hmm.
recreational activities together, all of that. And then in your professional capacity as a government official, you are signing contracts with them. The thing looks bad. God, man.
Exactly.
That's the point we're making.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Ricky Rita?
Mm-hmm.
Look, every single institution and ministry in less than 1.5 years has shown a number of corrupt practices. Every single one of them. And every day, and you know what we have to praise to is that those persons, and as Chris rightfully pointed out, that some of these contractors are still setting up sting operations, which is so excellent because they knew what is happening.
And they're tired of them.
You understand? They're very tired. Everybody's tired right now with what's happening. But as Curita read in one of the pictorial paper, I will give them an A+, the Jurita. I will give them an A+ for that thing there because that is how indeed how they operate. So, and I keep saying it over and over, it is the poor governance of the economy that is driving all these things to happen, and we want the people to see this. And that is why I'm urging everybody to share this program that you have here on Facebook, so that everybody will understand the fight that we are taking. You understand? And they cannot be shutting out anybody because they're talking. You understand? Which they love to do that. They love if they can shut down this program
Oh,
or shut
yes.
down the other program in the ring. You understand me? But then you have to understand that we got to talk. We have to keep um, putting them at task.
Yep,
You
yep.
understand? We have to do it.
Media freedom, freedom
And
of speech.
yeah, and look, every single thing. If you look at the way that the billing rose, we saw one in Wisman, Linden. You understand? After a couple of weeks, it just deteriorates the shoulder of the road. Look at the one at Tushin, $20-something million, and they're defending these things, man. These ministers going to defending these contracts.
Because the
And
wicked stink and dirty. That's
I
why
don't
they
know what is wrong. Every single thing, they're defending it. Why are you defending it? Do you understand?
correct,
I
correct.
don't think they have the I don't think they have the capabilities and the potential to understand the realistically what is happening today. I don't think they understand the technologies available. I didn't understand the people. Within the last 5 years, the AP and new AFC government has really invested in the education of the people of this country. And if 5 more years we would have brought back that part in the constitution that says free education from nursery to tertiary. We would have done that. I'm telling you this.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
You understand? And that is where you have to invest that money, boy. We have that oil money. That is where you have to invest in the education of the people.
yeah.
You have to invest in the health care of the people. Only recently, we got a young girl who died here because of kidney failures in our village here. It was so sad, because these are things you can put your money into. Specialty hospital. I mean, another one that they had, that the man get away with the money, 50 million plus US dollars get away, just disappear. But we're talking about the real specialty hospital and a proper health care for our citizens of this country. Only the AP and USC government can do that, Gerard. And we want people to understand that. They must understand that this is the only way. We are the only way we can take this challenge up.
Yep, yep, yep. And you know, to the
We are going to
discussion,
close off.
to to to
Go
to,
ahead. Go ahead.
to the discussion of the Sharon Hicks affair, I want to add the revelation that MP Ganesh Mahi Paul had brought to the public's attention, where the minister installed of local government and regional development. Soon as he come in, he given him family business. If family business work. And that is replicated so many times. We hear about ministers who their children got contract with the same ministry. The sweet woman, the wife, the husband, the man got contracts with the same ministry that they in. You understand me? Getting
You're
work.
way below the belt, Sarah.
Right? Right? It is it
It's
is
still
it is
happening.
it
It's
is
still happening.
it is like if
It's
you are a minister at let's say for instance you are a minister hypothetically you are the minister of housing and you gave your man contract for Bill Road and so on. These people are easy here, corrupt,
Serious
but
corrupt.
business,
think,
boy.
You know,
Sarah,
I want. Sorry, go ahead,
continue,
Rick.
Ricky, continue.
I want so this thing is not gonna get better. I mean, I don't foresee the future of it getting better. But what I love, um, colleagues, what I love is that the people are coming out. I saw a letter that this Messiah guy from I think it was Region 2, Eskimo Coast, wrote us something about the lands and survey. You understand me? You brought back, and let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you the reason off with.
Hello.
I think Ricky is getting some difficulty with his
Right ahead,
connection.
Rita. Jump in there.
So let's just jump in. When one of the things that persons need to do is we need to look at this example. This year's International Anti-Corruption Day. It's actually being observed under the theme "Your Right, Your Role." Say no to corruption, right? And social media industry is doing a phenomenal job at actually exposing the PPP, what they're doing, who they are, how they intend to operate. But something is very important for us as a people, we need to understand that the PPP was in office for 23 years prior to 2015.
Mhm.
When we went to office in 2015, the the magnitude of the work that had to be done to try to fix the madness that we went in there, which it was no plaything. It was very serious work, and the coalition did a phenomenal job when it comes to fighting corruption. We are in a state in Guyana that in which children were born and raised. Children were born and raised under the PPP, and they were made to believe that this is an acceptable system. The police stop you on the road, you give you the raise. You want get a contract under the PPP, just going, you got offer a little sidekick to
A freck,
somebody.
a
We
freck.
have an entire society that was raised that with the perception of this is how things are done. And because of that, a lot of times when people speak out against it, you see a lot of people saying, "Hey, so you get people a little raise and so," because persons were indoctrinated into a system that has that is failing us as a people, the corrupt system under the PPP. And we need to make sure that we come out and we speak out. One of the systems that we were raised on is that you should not speak up against the government. And the coalition completely turned that around in the 5 years that we were in
Yep.
office. In the 5 years we were in office, everybody was allowed freedom of speech to go out there and speak up.
Yep.
And the strength that was built in social media for persons to actually use their own voices and their own platforms to say what they believe, it was not taken away
Yep.
under the
And
coalition.
and
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 I
you
and
know,
I'm very proud that we continue in it today. That is one of the things that we held on to, and we need to fight to maintain that with every bit of strength that we have, because once we lose that, we will be doomed as a people. We need to speak out. Your program, like Ricky said, I'm sure a lot of persons are there and they're thinking how to shut down Sherrod's program, all the PPP people. But they also acknowledge that the international community is on it. The international community is watching. How do they come in and actually get to shut you down? And Sherrod, you do, like I said, I give you credit again. You do a phenomenal job with the way in which you deliver your content. If you do not have solid evidence or something, you don't bring it on. Period.
Exactly. Jurita, they
Right?
just shut me off there by power. What do you think we had? GPS saving some money. Power outage.
it is not power
Power
outage,
outage, bro.
Ricky. It's cascading shutdown.
An accumulation of
An
darkness.
accumulation of darkness. But on Jurita's point, we can point to the difference you had in the coalition government. Here you had a fella like Ruel Johnson. Wherever happened to Ruel Johnson? Well, worked for the government 5 years, cuss me out every day, then go and start your own political party. Wherever happened to Ruel? He was never in fear of his life. One day, Schumann trying the same thing. Schumann trying the same thing. Look at the comparison. Oh,
They have learned the
father.
hard way. They have
Oh,
learned the
father.
hard way.
Folks,
The
here's where
hard
we
way
are.
they have
But
learned.
I want to come back to what the U.S. Embassy said in this statement because it's quite interesting. Dorita says that the PPP had 23 years in government. The APNU AFC had 5 in recent history. And in this statement, the only anti corruption initiative that the US can point to through their ambassador here, Sarah Lynch, is what the APNU AFC did. Listen to how the statement reads. Folks, share the live stream. And we want to see those emojis. Share the live stream. Hear what Sarah says. Hear what the American government points to. In 2018, that's the coalition year. The Guyana Public Service Commission was reconstituted after a 13-year hiatus. This was a step towards ensuring fairness and transparency in the public service system. The government of Guyana also passed the Protected Disclosure Whistleblowers Act in 2018, which seeks to protect persons making disclosures from retribution from others, including within the public service. These kinds of legislative reforms are a necessary part of a successful plan to fight corruption. And these people call we riggers. You understand the contradictions? You all understand the contradictions with this corrupt cabal? Jump in anywhere there, folks.
That, Sharon, I am reading between the lines. You understand? There's something else behind this here, especially that ambassador.
Well,
You understand? And that is why we are
I want
calling.
Chris to come in after you and quote Forbes Burnham about reading between the lines. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Ricky.
So there's something else behind the agenda. These, and you always find that these ambassadors, I think like this guy was the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He came down here. They came here especially for put a foot in something. It has to do with the oil, and there's nothing else more than that.
They come
You
to put a
understand? But let
foot
me
in
tell you something.
catfish.
Exactly. But let me tell you this here. When we get back there, we are going to investigate every single aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Every
Mm-hmm.
single aspect we're gonna investigate, to point out clearly and to show them what they're doing. And we
Mm-hmm.
want the entire public, entire world to see that.
Yep.
That is what we're gonna do.
Charity and Chris, look at this slap in the face of the PPP at the end of the Americans' statement on International Anti-Corruption Day. Look at this. Look at the end of the statement. We continue to look forward to the PPP's government's initiatives to combat corruption because 15, 18 months later, nothing. We continue to look forward to the government's initiatives to combat corruption, including the National Resource Fund legislation that offers both transparency and clear oversight and to a meaningful and inclusive process of stakeholder engagement. Well, they even want to engage in leader of the opposition, much more the other stakeholders. Whatever happened to setting up the national
Exactly.
resource funds, Chris?
But Sherrod, unfortunately, the U.S. will, for the PPP, they will have to be looking for a very long time because under the PPP in the 23 years, it was the same U.S. authorities who been writing at nauseum not only on corruption but on local government and hosting of local government elections and so forth. And nothing in the 23 years under the PPP was achieved. And as you rightfully mentioned, it was under the APNU AFC government that you see a firm and resolute stand against corruption by the passage of those pieces of legislation. Even as it comes to the narcotics trade, it was the APNU AFC government that allowed the DEA office to be set up here in Guyana after the PPP fought tooth and nail under their administration to prevent it. And
Mm-hmm.
we've always spoken about the relationship with the People's Progressive Party Civic and those drug barons. And it is no secret as well that Guyana was named by the American authorities through their the U.S. State Department report that the Guyana under the PPP was named a transshipment point for narcotics, where they outline the fact that drugs are shipped from Guyana and are only intercepted in foreign territories. But to date, there haven't been a single arrest in Guyana under the PPP's 23 years in office.
Good point. Good
Now, I
point.
said that to say this, that we have seen already within a few months of PPP being installed into office that you saw these magnificent drug busts.
Mm-hmm.
In some countries, it was the largest bust in the country's history. And those tonnage of cocaine could only be moved by way of these Bedford trucks, these
Mm-hmm.
large dump trucks, and
Mm-hmm.
not one or two, but likely about five in order to move that quantity. And you were trying to tell me to date, the Guyana Police Force or the PPP has failed to
Yep.
identify not even a truck, a driver,
Yep.
the night in question
Yep.
when these trucks have to be driven on our streets
Yep.
to the wharf where these drugs were offloaded into that vessel that took it to the country in which it was intercepted.
Chris,
And to date,
I want to add to that that at the
mhm,
GRA they had said that the photographs,
scanner,
the scanners were tampered with, the photographs were deleted. They send that
mhm,
instrument and mechanism to a specialist who recovered the photographs. We never see one of them as yet,
exactly, exactly.
right?
And the only thing that has happened so far, they are about, I think, three or four, subject to correction, staff of GRE
Mm-hmm.
who worked around that scanning system, that their services were terminated by the PPP. Their services are terminated. So tons of cocaine left Guyana intercepted in a foreign territory, and three staff or four persons have been terminated from their place of employment. That's the end of the drug bust as far as PPP is concerned. So we're
Case
not
done.
hearing is who drugs, is who cocaine, is who vessels shipped it out, is who trucks transported it. They looked and found three scapegoats, and those scapegoats have been terminated. Now, these persons who have been terminated, they haven't been charged for shipment of cocaine. They haven't been charged for transporting cocaine. Nothing of that sort. They just been
Chris,
their
Chris,
service was
just a point.
terminated.
Just a point. If there is no, if there is no one who is being caught and no one is being charged or anything, who else you think it belongs to?
I don't
So you're
know.
on it, but you're on it. You're
Casper.
making this grand. Sharon, you
Casper.
know they're making this grand assumption as though this thing is not knowledgeable. The only people that don't know is the general public. The only people that don't know is the general public. This is a big secret. It is something that they know. They know who shipped it. They know what truck was
Exactly.
used. You just
Exactly.
gotta be careful when you are traversing the roadways in Guyana. You see a truck passing with some flour, so you just stay far because you ensure is what's actually in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
At this state we're in Guyana right now.
Mm-hmm. Flow gone up now too.
That, that's a
Well,
psychological.
well, if it mixed with other things, you see what's going on, Sharon.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
a psychological question, boy.
You,
If no one has been caught or no one is thing, it's obviously who it
and
belongs
Oh,
to.
but you know what is egregious in all of this? 11 tons of coke, 1,100 pounds of coke found recently in rum. What is egregious? This small man, Chris, this small man, Charita, this small man, Ricky, with 2 grams of
Sherrod,
cannabis, he gone to
Sherrod,
jail for 3 years. Eh?
Sherrod.
But it always
After that,
Oh,
happens
Father.
like that. Always happens like that because
Sherrod,
what I'm
after
fighting
that, after 1,100 pounds cocaine, did you see recently there was an inking of was it a bilateral agreement? Was that with Netherlands?
This country
Are
defies
you
you
every
so? Are
know.
you
every
guys?
known norm under the PPP. But I love what Chris said,
Mm.
and I think we should end on the, I almost said end, something like PPP. No, we should end on a high note. But there's no pun there between high and coke. And a high note. Chris said the Americans can keep waiting for a long time. This expectation of corruption in anti-corruption initiatives by the PPP, they're gonna keep waiting for a long, long time, right? But this is what Sarah helped to produce in this country. This is what Sarah helped to do.
But
correct. Exactly.
that's why she's going to continue to look forward to
Mm-hmm.
to
Yep,
that.
Mm-hmm.
yep.
And on that note, Sharon, things are very difficult, as you said. Things tight in Guyana. Persons are finding it difficult to feed their families and so forth. And I've been seeing a lot of instances in which persons are being dragged before the court for marijuana and those things. But as we know, how it's done in this country is a small man that get pulled in for these things, and then the big ones just walking scotch free, driving around in the most expensive vehicles, fine wine and dining, and that
With
is the way it is.
sirens, with sirens and
Siren,
lights.
yeah, they're protected. They're protected. They're not prosecuted. And persons need to understand. And on my ending point that I'm going to make is that when you are living in a country in which the government is depicting dictatorial tendencies, when you're living in a country in which corruption is always rampant under the administration in power, you need to be very careful of what you do and how you associate yourselves. Be very careful because if you were to look at the documentaries when persons speak at the international level about these drug busts that goes on, you know what they show you? Oh, they find somebody that look like they're struggling and they say, oh, well, just pass this little cocaine through the airport for us. And then when you go and you think, oh, you'll be all right, it's just a little bit, and then you're used as a scapegoat for the big operation for go down and pass through. So when they bust you, oh gosh, this person get busted with the cocaine in the shoes. Then when you were used as a sidebar, then the big drugs pass through because you were the scapegoat. And we see that so many times. This country is not getting any better. And as citizens of Guyana, we need to be smart. We need to be very conscious of what is going on and not allow anyone to come and use and abuse us for their personal gain. Because when you are suffering, their wealth has been expanded tremendously, and we are not just going to sit back. So I'm saying my very last word: person should adhere to the actual theme of this year anti-corruption day. Your right, your rule. Say no to corruption. So get out there, speak up against it. When you see it, call it out. We
Yep.
all have to do our part, and that is my ending note,
And
Sharon.
it's important to know it's not just a 1 day event, it's a 6 weeks campaign that is on against corruption, anti corruption campaign. Chris, just before we let you go, and I'm going to say farewell to all of you very short, but Chris, just before we wrap up, I know we're seeing coming across the airwaves and the headlines on social media. That the 21st Biennial Congress at your end has been postponed to a little. I don't know if you have any additional information, or you can give any clarity there. I know that you are very eager. I think you're vying for vice chairman to sit in that seat. So I don't know if you have you have any additional details, or you can give us a little clarity on what's happening there.
All right. Well, thank you, Sharon. And indeed, yes, I am vying for the post of vice chairmanship. The most I can say at
Fantastic.
this time
Mhm.
is, yeah, the Central Executive Committee of the party is currently in meeting, and no decision has. Apologies, a call. You hear me, Sharon?
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no decision has been made by the central executive of the party, and at the end of today's meeting, the party will put out a statement. But as it stands, as it relates to the Congress, it is still set for Saturday the 11th. And as I mentioned, the central executive is currently in meeting, and no decision has been made as it relates to any postponement of same. If I can continue with the closing remarks quickly,
Go,
Sherrod,
go right ahead, Chris.
on the note we had mentioned earlier about the number plate GUI. Just for clarity, GUI or Guy is a number plate that would be used by the um, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Protocol Office when you have officials that are in the country. Just recently we had the
Ghanaians,
Ghanaian.
yeah.
Right, they were in Guyana, so number plates for vehicles that will be transporting them, those number plates will be changed to facilitate their movement through the traffic. I've also participated in that some years ago when I worked with CARICOM as well. From time to time, we'll use those same number plates. Um, Finally, Jared,
Yes, go right ahead, Christopher. We
right,
paying keen
and
interest.
yeah, and finally on the note of corruption, I mean, I am saddened. I am saddened. I am disappointed, and I am upset. And more particularly, and unfortunately, it is with the U.S. authorities, because the People's Progressive Party Civic is known for corruption. We had no less than the U.S. State Department, multiple yearly reports from the U.S. State Department when the PPP was in office under the 23 years, and they quoted ad nauseum about the level of corruption and complicity amongst the PPP official and the drug barons and so forth of this country. It was an ushering of a new a breath of fresh air when the APNU took up office. And we mentioned before, and we do it over and over, about the fact that it was the APNU AFC government that passed those legislation, which allowed persons to be whistleblower and they get the protection of the state. It was the APNU AFC government that allowed the US to set up the DEA office that they can go after those very drug barons. We would have seen a reduction in drugs being transshipped out of this country under the APNU AFC government. And within a mere month or two of the PPP being installed, we had the very first major drug bust. That is an indication that the drug barons and those persons that are part of the narcotics trade are comfortable with a People's Progressive Party civic in office because they have very close association with many of the leaders of the People's Progressive Party civic. And that is why I'm saddened and I'm upset because knowing the facts, and that is the US authority, you had no less than the ambassador of the United States Embassy walking foot and foot, toe and toe behind the very same corrupt PPP cabal that our government and our state department has been writing for years, speaking about their corruption. And now when the corruption has returned, because you know that it doesn't only stop here in Guyana. If corruption exists in Guyana, then therefore that corruption is going to reach many other countries. And that is the issue that they have now. The drugs have started to flow through Guyana and ended up in different countries. So those countries now have the problem because essentially the gates have been opened once again
Mm-hmm.
with the People's
Mm-hmm.
Progressive Party
Yep.
civic to allow that to flow. So that is why I'm upset because the gains, there were so many gains that was achieved by the APNU AFC government. And essentially, all of that now has been eroded and it continues to be eroded with the PPP being in office. And again, as Ricky, as Drita, as yourself would say over and over again, when we get back in office, there is all of this cleanup again that we have to do to put this country back on a firm footing of which it is respected, of which it is not viewed as a corrupt country, of which it's not viewed as a country in which the persons associated with the drug trade feel free that they can ship drug through this country. We had multiple planes that we discovered on airstrips that were dug out in our forest within the last couple months with cocaine packed inside of them. We discovered those. We discovered planes abandoned and likely it's after the drug barons would have landed their drugs in this country and they have just simply abandoned the planes and so forth. All of that has returned under the People's Progressive Party civic. So when you speak of corruption, unfortunately, the US authority with its ambassador Sarah Lynch aided and abetted corruption to return to this country and by virtue of that reaching the very shores of the United States now. I'm upset about that.
Yep. Yep. Thank you, Chris.
And
Ricky, final
I will
thoughts.
say, I will, I will say it again. I will say it again. You put cat to watch my milk. That's what you were saying earlier.
It's true.
You understand? Look, I am calling here as Rita made a good call on Chris.
Somebody's trying to call Ricky, so we're gonna have him back in a second. Always happens. Seeing you there, Sharon, Anthony, and Yonat Elias, Gio Boudoir, and Bonita
Hi,
Elise Parker. Right ahead, Ricky.
guys. Sorry about that. I just want to make it quickly. I'm calling on the United States government. It seems that this has been will be and today is starting the world
International
I want to say
Anti-Corruption Day.
celebration.
Recognition.
I
Yeah.
don't want to say celebration.
Yeah.
I wanted to choose the right word.
Yeah.
International Corruption Day. For him to step in because his ambassador here in Guyana was the one who involved all that we're talking about.
Mhm.
And I can't believe the day that he has not sent, and I'm calling for him to set up a consortium or a committee to specifically look at the Guyana case. And I'm not only in Guyana, not only the corruption here, but I'm looking at the judicial system here, Sharad.
Mhm.
Our judicial system here that we have seen and witnessed the recount of all these boxes, 49 ballot boxes that had statutory documents.
On the East Coast alone,
We have seen
that wasn't
on
nationally.
East
That was
Coast
just on the East
alone
Coast.
and the other regions where the statutory document was not sent in by the returning officers.
Mhm.
I wanted to set up a special committee to overlook. You understand me? Where is our high court here has thrown out that case, and they have all witnessed this thing. How can you be how can you bring transparency and bring accountability and to eradicate corruption if you don't look into the systems?
Yeah.
So I want us to call. I want us to engage them. We have to come together. We have to write them to form a committee there from his Congress to look into this aspect
Mhm.
here
Yep.
in
Yep.
Guyana situation here,
Yep.
because the case is gonna I think the hearing is gonna be sometime in December here, right? 21st.
Something like that.
You understand?
Something like that.
So we have to we have to do this thing. We can only look at that one aspect of corruption and not looking at the judicial system. You
Correct.
understand?
Correct.
It's every single branch of government. We gotta look at the executive branch, the judicial branch. You understand? We gotta look at these things. So that is
Yeah.
what I want to end with, Sharon.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Can the PPP say no to corruption? Folks, I think you have the answer. Are thankful. We are thankful to have had the opposition chief whip Christopher Jones and member of parliament Rita Finance as well, and member of parliament Diona Ryan, Ricky Ramsarup, who have joined us for this midday podcast below the belt with yours truly, Sherry Duncan. Folks, we were so privileged to have these guys in this very, very robust conversation on corruption locally, amongst some other issues. Bread gone up, folks. Bread gone up, among other things. Rita, Chris, Ricky, thanks for joining the program today.
Thank you, Sharon, and
Thank
thank you, guys.
you.
Most welcome, Sherrod.
Fantastic, fantastic. Folks, good to see Sheena Hazel with us today. Beatrice Selby is with us as well. And we also have Ronnie Caesar. Fancy name, very eloquent name. Ronnie Caesar we have with us today. Jamal Aziz, we see you there. Yvonne McPherson, guys, come on board. Why don't you? And partner with us. By now, some of y'all catching the vision that we have, but we need your support to keep doing more, to bring you more programs like this. And we got some more things in store. That's what we tell you. Folks, your dollar is well spent with us. Come on board, partner with us. Give me a little freck when the money comes. That's what we're really saying. A $5 US, a 10, a 15, a $20 US. If you want to go more, especially for Christmas, be our guest. Folks, we have several platforms available to you as an In the Ring affiliate program. We also use their platform. So it's In the Ring, it's a dollar sign for Cash App. It's a dollar sign In the Ring 592. That's the Cash App handle. The Cash App handle is a dollar sign In the Ring 592. We're also available on PayPal. The email there is in the ring 592 at gmail.com. That's our PayPal email address. In the ring 592 at gmail.com. All lower caps. In the ring 592 at gmail.com. We're also available at the local Cash App, the MMG, and the GT&T MMG system. Our number there is 627-6963. 627-6963. You'll have an information tip. You got some photographs. You got a little video. Like Irfan dancing up while bright price going up. You got video like that, send it to us on our WhatsApp number 627-6963, which is also our MMG number. And guys, we love Western Union and we love MoneyGram. We're gonna see with them, especially Christmas time. No issue at all. Guys, come on board and partner with us and see this vision that we have for bringing credible news and information to you guys come to reality. Help us, come on board, folks, and give us a little freck for the holidays. It was so great having Richard and Chris and Ricky on the program this afternoon. Roxanne Nelson Hillman was good having you as well. Nadira Khan was good having you. Roxanne Aaron was good having you too. All the Roxannes on the program. Tasha Sealat was good having you as well. Joylyn Cook, good to see you guys. Letitia Millington, so great to see you guys. Share the live stream as you go. Hundreds of you are still watching us. Trust that you guys have had a great lunch. The weather in downtown Georgetown is fantastic. We have a beautiful view watching the flag fly at Parliament Building there. Lovely, lovely view. It is, let me see, it's 30 degrees outside. 30 degrees outside. However, weather.com is telling us there is a 78% chance of rain this afternoon. It doesn't look likely, but that's what weather.com telling me. There's a 78% chance of rain this afternoon. It was so grateful to have all of you guys, and we hope that wherever you guys are, whether you guys are in North America, you're in Washington D.C., you're in Connecticut, you're in Brooklyn, you're in Queens, wherever you are joining this program from, you somewhere in the Caribbean, we hope that the weather is fine where you are, or even if it isn't, that you guys are making the best of it. We don't only want to live, guys, and to survive, but we want to thrive, irrespective of the weather, guys. Thanks for joining us below the belt. We in the ring tonight at 8. See you guys there. Thanks for joining below the belt. Who vex lose? Who vex vex? Who vex lose? Stay safe. Stay safe.